meeting, for today. We would like to thank each and every one of you all for coming out. I want to give a special thank you to the board for being here on today. Amen. So let's go ahead and go forward. Vicki, go ahead with roll call.
Okay, Ms. Harris,
Here.
Ms. Allard, Ms. Beck, Ms. Crane, Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Ms. Kemper,
Here.
Ms. Peel, here, Mr. Pusateri, and Mr. Rippey.
Do we have a forum?
Yes, we do.
All right, thank you. Let's move on in our meeting for today. We'll go straight into our announcements and I know the comments here.
We don't have anyone signed up for public comment today, so we'll move on from this. But just as a reminder, if folks wish to address the board during the meeting, they're to register via our website, which is lmha1.org before 10:30 the morning of the meeting. If people want to submit written comments to the board, they can send those to Vicki Buckman. Her email address is buckman@lmha1.org, and we will distribute it to the board.
Let's move on. Do we have any committee reports today? All right. The approval of the minutes. Our regular board meeting that was held on April the 21st, 2026. May I have a motion to approve? So. May I have a second? Second. All right, the motion is second. All those in favor say aye. 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 So we appreciate that. The board minutes is now approved. We're going to move on with our resolutions. Resolution 5A, approval of 7/1/26 through 6/30/27, consolidated budgets. May I have a motion to approve, please? So, may I have a second? Second. All right, we're ready for discussion.
Hey, I'm Mike Bianco, VP of Finance. As all of you know, once a year, another requires us to bring that annual operating budget to the board for approval. This budget has already been presented to the Finance Committee more detail last week, so I'll do my best to advance it a little bit. Most of you will wait, about 17 resolutions, so we'll get it out for a little bit of time. So in all seriousness, if anyone wants me to go into more detail about it, stop me. So everyone is on kind of this page here, the pamphlet shows the operating budget. Says page 1. So we would identify the audit finance committee, which is eventually to start with bad news first. We are still projecting a deficit. It's continuing about $20.1 billion for FY27. Again, this is not unique to LMHA. It comes for 500 housing authorities that have all of more than $1 trillion. And this is also, although it might not seem like on the surface level, good news is that our financial outlook has actually improved since last fiscal year. And the next couple of slides also why it might not seem as far as the number compared to FY26. But we're changing the way that we present these for a little bit more transparency, and you'll see that it actually shrunk the deficit from last year. To that note, before we kind of get to the numbers, just looking at this sheet, if you look towards the bottom of the page where it says interfund transfers, you'll see the shift on how we're presenting. I think it's important to note that this isn't driven by any type of HUD requirements. This is just an intentional choice on our end to over communicate to increase transparency and just make it a little bit more palatable and logical for everybody to walk through this. To that end, again, we just want to present things in a more easy to follow format. Please feel free to give feedback between these numbers every single day. Okay, so diving in, we'll start on that page 1. The first section is just going through some basic statistics, how many housing residents, finance, count is, and then as far as the section vouchers, which is about 12,900. But I think the important part of the budget is you start at that next section, sources. This will give you kind of the big federal subsidies that we get. You'll see 14 million for public housing, about $1 million for fixed finance, and then the biggest, which is 151.5 million from our Section 8 program. Total sources, we end up with about $186 million, for the year, which is projected. And then that next section, uses show what we're gonna spend it on. And it starts with administration, which essentially just starts to have salary, maintenance, employees, maintenance, it's a really big one. And then if you go all the way down to section that you have, that's almost more of a pass through. That's what actually gets passed on to our tenants, our voucher holders. All in all, we got about $205 million of uses with only $186 of sources. So that brings you to about an $18.7 million deficit. Then if you add retiree health insurance, we talked about before, that's just never been broken out and itemized, but it's always been part of the budget. And then our rent adjustment being in this building, you get to about $20.1 million, which is what I referenced. This is the section that's a little bit different, so I said I'll call it out once we got here. So this interfund transfer section, without getting too deep in these, I think the easiest way to look at this is almost kind of like our savings account. So these are reserves that we have built up at the time, in addition to a few other sources like our capital funds program. And this is what we tap into to cover these gaps in this course, so we have a deficit. So you can see that that's $20.1 million after about $18 million from our capital fund, $1 million from our restricted program income, then another $1 million from our development corporation. That brings our net deficit to zero. Just to back up and pause for a second, because I know that was a lot. Going back to the apples to apples, our prior year budget, where it might have looked like last year was only $1 million deficit, now it's like $20 million. In the past, or at least last year, that interfund transfer section at the bottom of the page where we're tapping into our reserves, our savings account, that had been mixed with sources. So it was almost, you're not getting that middle net surplus line, which is like subtotal. Essentially what that's saying is, if we started from zero, and we just used the money as it came in, what it's supposed to be used for, this is what we end up with. Last year, that was kind of the savings accounts injected in that, so it just got down to almost a zero break even. This year, we're just calling it because, you know, everyone is discussed and Elizabeth spoke to a lot, so the really difficult decisions that we had to make. And I think it's important now more than ever for everyone to kind of understand this is where we would be had we not had the sort of savings account templates. Just for the full transparency. And again, the good news is that you can see at the bottom of the page, we're still getting this. So we have a plan. We also have the funds to come with us in this next fiscal year. It's just a matter of, I think, keeping everybody informed and making sure that everybody follows and are getting financial decisions. We can kind of reference this. It's not fast, it's more soft, and you know, and not to say that in the past that there was anything wrong. We're actually, again, allowed under our NTW status to present this in a much different way than a lot of other housing. So we don't have to break it out as much. We don't have to show subtotals and say here's our deficit, or we're just choosing to do that. So I'll pause for a second time. It's the first one. Chance to ask me questions. Is there anything that somebody has as far as any of this from changing format?
No, I just thought it would take longer. So this is great.
Well, we got a couple more cases. I'm gonna be really quick because I know like a certain time. Yeah.
It's so beautiful thing. No, this is good to see. And I just want to tell you, thank you for presenting it this way, because this gives me a really good idea of where we are, where we're trying to go, and how we're gonna get there. So thank you.
Okay, so, big the obvious question, so how big is the reserves and the savings? If it's kind of, run this kind of a deficit here.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in the past, it was really high. Just 2-3 years ago, I mean, we were approaching $100 million. So, and which is why, again, there was probably not as much urgency said it. Kind of the way that we built those reserves, the lever that we used to build that those reserves up, not available for a lot of reasons. One, we're actually getting station about but two, we're just from a cash management perspective, as we crack down on allowing these agencies to build up these cash reserves. So what people previously relied on as far as the safety cushion, now is in don't want that. when you bring it down to the main months, which is nowhere near to 60, 70, 80 million dollars. So I could show on the next slide, I believe it's the next one, or forward, but we'll show where it's supposed to be at, and after just being at 60 or so, not too long. So, but that's a great question. It's all about sustainability, our liability going forward. How long can we? Right. Okay. Does anyone have anything else? I'll get to the okay, so that next page 2. Really what this is doing is what we spoke about earlier, getting this to apples comparison last year. If you look at that first line where it's going across and, or I'm sorry, the first section says operating budget deficit. If you look, you'll see that in FY26, if you take that, the real kind of deficit number that we started with, it would have been about 16.1 million, and then 20.1 for 27, which I just referenced. So on the surface, again, it looks like, all right, you actually 4 million in the wrong direction, until you actually include some of the things that were left out of last year's budget. That includes the capital fund, anything that we use our capital fund dollars for. Previously, we didn't count as part of this operating fund, so it was still accounted for internally, but it was almost off of this presentation. Now because we're just wanting full visibility into how much money we have, we're including everything that's put into our financial outlook and income. So work your way down, mixed finance, that's the non-fixed income grant bash. Basically, you get down when you adjust it apples to apples with last year, go from $16.1 million deficit last year to 14.7 million. So again, it's almost $1.5 million in the right direction this year comparing apples to apples. All of that said, that is also before you adjust for a significant cut of public housing subsidy, 86% proration. That actually was down to about $2.5 million, which again, that's really difficult to guess. I can just say I think it's you can only kind of go by and sort of maybe the trends within. And so if you count that, then you're really down to about $10.5 million. We broke that out because we wanted to keep that top section completely isolated, so you all would see just compared to last year, apples to apples. That's what it is. It'd be about $1.5 million. We strengthened that. That's further in the straight balance. Does anybody have a question about that? No, it's kind of a lot of information. And it probably makes it a little bit more difficult too when we're changing the percentage. Again, you find that's actually more straightforward. The next page, page 3. So these next couple of pages, really, this is not, I would almost look at this completely separate from that first budget page. This is almost, maybe an easy way to look at it is this is just a drill down into some of those sources that we referenced on the first page, maybe gaps and plug this deficit. So this particular one is on capital fund program, which every year this kind of comes in tandem with our operating subsidy. You can see on those first 3 lines, FY23, 24, 25 awards. That's basically all the balance of how much is left. So you assume you get $13 million a year, 23 has about $1 million left, so on and so forth. All of them together, you look at about $31 million in our total capital fund sources. Then this is the important one as well, that you back out kind of commitments that were already made. Again, I think this is key because when we present and we project a deficit like this, I think the first question that we want for a lot of people is most something you can't do that you can kind of put pause on or hold back while you're in deficit, while you kind of control. The answer is yes, we've already done it. And so, I've said this about finance, but when we first started, the first number that we came to project this year was $1 billion of a deficit, and it's just media, those bitches. No, we're going to cut everything that we possibly can, be as lean as possible, and that's how we got down to that $21 million figure. So, this is, but these planned uses at the bottom of this page, these are things that are already in motion, the projects that are already either complete or right application that was set into motion before a lot of us even got here. It is what it is. We just have to finish them. Providing a lot of good community that might just not be something you do today, given our financial outlook. If these projects were started. Does anyone have anything? Comments, questions about that page?
Following along here, this is a really nice, but you said last, we have reserves and this thing.
No, so we were approaching the 100 million and passed up with factors. So last year, I want to say that the reserve number of here was it like 30 something million? Like 30. Okay. Oh, yeah. So about 30 or so million, but over the last 4 years or so, that's been some around a little bit. And again, we use them for a lot of projects. A lot of things that we might not do it today, we do that, but a lot of it's just cash management. They just don't let it build up reserves. So, we discussed earlier, a lot of finance community, but I get into a check and savings thing. They'll be like the banks that, hey, every paycheck that you get, normally put, X amount away. Now we're not letting it happen. So I should just use it. That's kind of what a lot of these basic like now, like whenever we can't want to save. So now we have to be more creative. We just have to adapt over it. But yeah, so that's actually a good segue. That page that actually does start that's the literature right now. It's the kind of like this. That's a really good question. So page 4, this is projected at the best, the latest data that we have, most of the county data at the end of March this year, about our public housing. Now, this is not our HCB but our public housing next back when public housing camps actually make money. This is almost like our safety. Right? So true safety net right now, we're at about $9.8 billion. And for context, none of this $9.8 million on that first line we're having to use flood index. Right? Because I know it can get confusing because we go here and how does this relate to the original page? So none of that 9.8 at this point we're projected to have. So that next line, the HUD held reserve, $9 billion. That is the balance that I referenced earlier that wasn't approaching $1. That was getting $7 million. And just through projects and initiatives, again, all helped a lot of people, and we do it. I mean, countless units for the community. I mean, but that is what whittled that number down. And this is right before we start this fiscal year at 8.9 is what we think it is as of the end of April. So for all intents and purposes, I would almost say there's a good chance that numbers at the start of this year, which is July 1st, could be pretty close to zero. That's a possibility. But this budget is considered, so that's not something that we have planned for. So those are the two big numbers. That next section, the special purpose reserves, a lot of these are 20, 30 years old. You can see some of the descriptions, 1980s, 1990s, earmarks for certain things. A lot of these balances that were bigger before were used for our future phases of future projects. They were kind of dwindled down a little bit. All of those together add up to almost $2.5 million. And then our unrestricted program income is just under $2 million. That is all factored. Everything that's factored into that, and have things like our loans that we've made to our own properties that reserve because we don't get paid down before. And I know that's in the weeds a little bit. At the end of the day, we're basically looking once we have the capital fund reserves that we discussed, we're looking at $1 million for estimated reserves, and that is before anything is considered. So it's almost more of a deep dive into those reserves before all of the activity financial activity studies. Hang on that or
So, just make sure, so the 43 million dollars, if the budget, you show 20 of that gone then from the budget? You have
Yes.
sent it.
Right there, that's, yeah. That's,
So you have about 1 year left. Government just sent it.
Yep. And a lot of these, you know, and I'm sure Elizabeth will speak, but like, a lot of this stuff, because there are things that are in motion, like from before. You just want to do them, that are not reflected in here. On this next page, again, it's probably a good segue, little bit, by this next page, a bunch of the assumptions that we use to help numbers. But I think it's fair to say that all of the assumptions we certainly mean certain. So there are a lot of things that in transition that we focus in the time. Now, there's some things that can go the other way as well, but I think if you net them out, this is pretty concerning. I mean, there's a lot of maintenance sales and a lot of lunch time, you know, get some money that we can absolutely, you know, just shrink that density more. But just, we didn't want to get too optimistic out here in 25 and Mars. And so, you know, if anybody has any questions about the assumptions, I won't for every one of them. Doesn't have to be now, go through it later, and curious about why we can kind of assume also location back.
Mike, I'll just jump in.
Please.
Hey,
Well, here.
it's just very quick. So yes, all reserves with 43 million. Does that use half of that? Most half of yes, but when we keep in mind, like the capital fund, we get another capital fund, grant fund, in around June or July of 27. So it's, you know, and I would look at 3 billion reserve and we'll be using half of it, so you can get that. So,
Right, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And that also lends itself to what we discussed and I make sure that discussed is true, which is that difference between all of this year and the year that we get our subsidy based off calendar year, that makes everything hard to try to budget. We don't know what the donations going to be, they're just not saying. That's just part of it. So a lot of it is kind of projected out and estimating. Again, just trying to be somewhat so.
So as Mike said, we've made a lot of changes to save money, some of which are reflected in our projected budget. Some are not yet captured. So for example, the changes that we are implementing to Section 8, the ERP payment is reflected in this budget. The $50 minimum rent in Section 8 is not. The change in standard medical deduction is not reflected. So we are also using similar projections for our healthcare costs that we did last year. We're hoping to recognize savings from the changes we made to the plan. So hopefully that will go down. So again, we tried to be a little worst case scenario with this budget projection in hopes that we can do a quarterly update for the Audit Finance Committee. That is better news. There's a lot going on. We are absorbing the cuts from the federal budget that we've been warning you all about. The 86% proration in public housing operating is very concerning. So that means that HUD took a look at what it would cost for us to do what we did last year and then applied an 86% proration rate to that. So that was a big cut. We've talked a lot about the issues in our Section 8 department. The reserves that we built up over the years were really built on the back of our Section 8 program, frankly. For many years, we were serving fewer people than we are now, so we were kind of banking those reserves. We can't do that for a variety of reasons. One, we have to serve a certain number of people that's required by statute as a moving to work agency. And secondly, as Mike said, there's been a change in the law that says that moving to work agencies, including LMHA, can no longer hold that many reserves and be protected. So when we get updates from HUD, they have added a line that says, you know, for us, which was never on our line before, that says reserves to be recaptured. So if we had those huge reserves this year that we've had in the years past, HUD in all likelihood would have recaptured some of those to give to other agencies in shortfall. So the way that we have operated in the past simply has to change to keep up. these deficits that we're running in many ways are structural. The programs that we are 90% reliant on are funded each year by Congress and appropriated to us from HUD. So, we have to think about our revenue potential and how we're bringing money in the door. We have to think about how we're designing our programs to serve the number of people that we need to serve. Like we talked about before, are we going to serve more people that pay less of their rent or fewer people and pay more of their rent? Those are really the questions that we have to grapple with at this point. So we are well aware of those structural deficit issues and, working as hard as we can to save where we can, but really we have to change how we operate. Yes, so we were not able to, we are not offering cost of living adjustments this year to our employees, but we are offering $1,000 to every employee who has been here for a year and is not retiring this year. So that is overall a pretty significant savings to the agency, but it's still a meaningful thing for us to do for the staff. And this way, folks are getting it all at once, as opposed to spread out over the year. So if somebody has an outstanding bill or needs to get their car fixed or something like that, they can do that.
I mean, with this, or that you actually done this. So.
Thank you. We really appreciate all of the hard work you're doing, because I'm sure it took a lot of people, all of them, for you all, and you part too. So, I just want to say thank you about this. It's clear. It's easy to read, it's easy to figure out. So thank you so very much. I did have one question and it's just my mind going there. Are police, are you all self-insured?
Yes.
Okay. And don't the reserve have something to do with that? Don't you need to have a certain amount of reserve to be self-insured, or am I looking at it wrong?
So certainly I can't get as much of these, but there are aspects on trust, on insurance trust that we do need to keep that alone. So. But that's much less substantial than these reserves as far as like, so that is a much smaller amount, but yes, that is certainly something that we have to. Everybody that's in that insurance trust, that's so professionally, and we trust the other side. So. Yeah.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure that you.
No, yeah.
Good memory.
It's a deep breath.
Stay sure. Does anyone else have any questions, any concerns, any comments? All right, first I want to give them an applause for the work that you all have done. And then, we're gonna go straight for our votes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, 5A is now approved. Okay, now let's move on to resolution 5B. Approval of contracts for abatement, demolition, and site restoration services. Former First Link Building at 431 East Liberty Street. May I have a motion to approve, please? So may I have a second? Second. All right, we're ready for discussion.
Okay, thank you. I'm Kim Bishop, the Director of Strategic Initiatives here at LMHA. We have our development manager, Brent Race, here as well to help answer any questions that you have about the next several resolutions. Bridge excavation. We evaluated these proposals internally with LMHA staff. We also had support from CMEC, which is our environmental consultant, as well as our consultants with Baker Tilly. The evaluation considered the qualifications, the relevant experience, technical approach, environmental compliance, which is very important at the site, safety and cost, consistent with the scoring criteria that was established in the RFP. Cost was evaluated in conjunction with proposed completeness, scope definition, and identified risk rather than as a standalone. And I just want to point that out because a lot of times when we do construction bids, that is the lowest price, most responsible bid. That is not how we approach this. We consider price along with many other factors to ensure we have a successful project. So proposed costs did vary widely, ranging from $288,000 to $1.28 million. This reflects differing levels of scope definition, risk recognition, and completeness of not all of the submission. Cardinal Demolition has submitted a proposal in the amount of $561,000. While this was not the lowest price proposal, it was determined to be competitively priced and supported by a reasonable understanding of the project scope. The other lower price submissions lack sufficient detail or completeness to provide confidence that all required work was fully accounted for. Most importantly, abatement of environmental concerns. Okay, and this increases the likelihood that those smaller, lower bids would pull in. Cardinal's proposal demonstrated an appropriate balance of cost, constructability, and execution approach and aligned with our expectations for delivering the project in a predictable and controlled manner. In addition, we do have experience with Cardinal on comparable demolition work, including the former Porter Paint site, which is now New Walnut Street Park, which also required significant environmental abatement at that site of brownfield. So this is our selected contractor. We are coming to the board to seek your approval to enter into a contract with Cardinal Demolition for this project.
And this is paid for through community development block grant funds from the city that are allocated to us. So this is kind of off of our budget that you just heard about.
What happened, they authorized 2.1 and spent 5,000. You have to return the rest.
We're hoping to roll that over to Dosker right across the street there. Just move that money, knock that down.
And this is not the sole cost associated with this project. This is just for the general contractors. So we already have a contract with CMEC, who's our environmental consultant, that's been approved by the board. So that work was included in the contract with them that we already have in place. And then last month, we came to y'all with the addition to the Baker Tilly contract for construction. So it is, the total budget will be, somewhat larger than this, but any savings point we apply to just that demolition. Are there any comments, any other questions? All right, we're ready for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, the ayes have it.
Madam Chair, if I may, one quick comment. If you have code and feel good event where the initial demolition sometime today. Personally served that community very well, Foxton, one of those groceries for that area. The Sullivan family that sold it to LMHA back in 10 years ago. It would be nice to be invited to the demolition part of the process. I think will be a good thing. They really deserve being very well. And it'd be nice to be able to have them.
That's a great idea.
I love that idea too. Thank you very much. All right, it looks like the notes were taken on that. We're looking forward to the demolition of that site. I know that we've been working on it for a long time, so thank you for your work and your tenacity to continue working through that. We're moving on to resolution 5C. Authorization to award contract for Iroquois Senior Living Property Management Services. May I have a motion, please? So moved. May I have a second? Second. Okay, so the motion is second, ready for discussion. Thank you. Iroquois Senior Living Community is one of the projects that Mike referenced in his budget presentation, where we have committed funding and that project is nearing completion. It's a new construction, 60-unit development. It's one phase of housing. It's going to be for adults ages 55 and over, located at 1400 Bicknell Avenue on the former site of Iroquois Homes. This is 100% project-based voucher property. The construction is anticipated to be completed in July. LMHA chose to issue a request for proposals for the property management function of this community. We issued that on December 8th, 2025, and we received 2 proposals. We received proposals from Winterwood and from Fairstead. The 2 proposals were analyzed by LMHA's review committee, which consisted of 5 LMHA staff, myself, and Brent Reeves from Strategic Initiatives, Melinda Breslin, who represents project-based voucher side of the house, Faith Hood, who was our director of special programs, so that kind of encompassed like what types of services are we going to be able to offer for this population, and Tara Adams, who's an asset manager with us. We all independently reviewed those 2 proposals, and the proposal from Winterwood received the highest evaluation score from all of the evaluators. The terms of that proposal are a management fee not to exceed 7.5% of collective revenue, which includes any collected rental income, rental assistance receipts, late fees, service charges, tenant damage income, security deposit and forfeitures, and proceeds from any business interruption claims, rare fees from concessions. The management fees would be paid monthly from property revenues, and those cover the corporate management and compliance costs for the property. I've gone into some of the other costs associated with this contract. Again, this is a new construction, and so there is significant onboarding, pre-leasing expenses, setting up a whole new property that you won't see, for example, necessarily when we renew a management contract at the park ownership. So there are other fees baked into the proposal for accounting and bookkeeping, training, and IT support, as well as other operating expenses that are included in the property budget, include the cost of the staff. So again, the management fee kind of covers these high level costs and staff, supplies, anything else that the property needs are covered out of revenues as well in the property budget. As a newly constructed property, there's some one-time fees associated with pre-leasing, such as marketing, onboarding, and then a lease-up incentive of $175 per unit once the property is considered 100% fully qualified.
The one-time payment.
Yes. These fees were determined to be reasonable by industry standards and can be supported by the property's annual budget, while also leaving an opportunity for the property to achieve consistent cash flow. Upon approval by this board, the contract would be effective on June 1, 2026. We are proposing an initial 2-year contract with an option to renew for an additional 3 years for a total of 5 years possible. I'm happy to be.
Any questions? All right, we're ready to close. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, resolution 5C is now approved. Moving on to resolution 5D, authorization to renew contract for Park Duval Property Management Services. May I have a motion, please? May I have a second? All right, the motion is second, ready for discussion.
Thank you. This is a renewal of property management services at Park Duval. I won't go into all the background about when we issued the RFP back to 2021, but that information is there for you to review. Responses from. This is the 4th and final renewal for this contract for Park Duval. Next year, at this time, we will be issuing another request for proposals to competitively select the property manager. So we have been highly satisfied with Winterwood at Park Duval, and they maintain pretty high occupancy, 95% or better across the property. We make frequent visits to that property. It's always in good condition. We look at units, we do inspections, we interact with the council, city council members who keep an eye on that property and communicate with our residents, there, so. We don't have any reason not to, certainly not to recommend renewal, we're very satisfied, we did conduct an evaluation. For Park Hall, we're also, I just wanted to mention, we have, instituted a formal asset management function, which started in 2025. And over the last couple of months, we've made a lot of early progress in evaluating all of this property's financial statements and occupancy information over since January. So we are able to really look at the both the lens to see, you know, where the property might need some assistance, or they're doing really great. Those types of discussions with the beach community. Are there any questions?
Well, just an observation, we just approved where they're getting 7.5% of the revenue, and this one it was 5.25. Did you all attempt to get them down on the 7.5, what they're?
This one, I think is 5.25,
Effective gross income different, and
effective gross income,
different, what it says, of the other,
yeah,
that said, collected revenue.
correct.
So collected revenue. Gross income.
Gross income
Like
would
it could be the same.
gross income would be prior to your vacancy loss, right?
Yeah, I think gross income would be on taking into consideration vacancies and sessions that other income. Those factors are taken into consideration. The other issue is with our mall is that it's public housing summons, and they're limited on management people there, for safe harbor constraints. So with those factors taken into consideration, it's less opportunity to negotiate on anything out of part of all and the where you're going senior, because your post senior does not have those same constraints. This is just under section 8 as far as the public system sense.
Not sure what that means, but.
Well, the basketball property, because it has so much public housing, does not generate as much rent for one thing. So if they charged a higher fee there, we can't support a higher fee. If they, for the, Iroquois senior property, they don't like that rent. Their fees, they're really not. It's not $6.
Some of the student programs, strengths. Still gives us an equal opportunities.
Yeah, we only got 2 bids.
Right.
It's
We did considerable amount of outreach, and we have discussed, what we can do going forward to make additional introductions and relationships, you know, to learn more about the other property management companies that might be interested in the area. That's it,
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, comments or concerns? All right, we're ready for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Resolution 5B is now approved. Moving on to resolution 5B, approval of memorandum of understanding with MPG Real Estate, LLC. May I have a motion to approve, please? May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ready for discussion?
Okay, great. So we have previously come to this board and had numerous conversations about our plan to form a significant rehabilitation at Avenue Plaza. This board had approved the selection of MPG Real Estate as our co-development partner for this project. And what we have done since that time is work with them through all of the mechanics of the deal. And to put together terms for a memorandum of understanding that are acceptable to both parties and present a favorable deal for LMHA. So we are now ready to come to you today with those terms, which will outline the framework for a master development agreement, which would take place at this MOU down the road and but would be designed around these major deal points. So the key provisions for this agreement. The redevelopment will occur in one phase consisting, as I said, of the substantial rehabilitation of Avenue Plaza. And occupied senior disabled high rise located at 420 South 8th Street. Each phase will be developed by a single purpose entity, which will be formed by the developer, otherwise known as the owner. So as we go through this, when we are talking about owner, we are talking about the single purpose entity that has been formed by the developer. The developer or its affiliate will act as managing member for the owner. LMHA's affiliate will serve as an administrative member or special limited partner with specific rights over what those rights are. Avenue Plaza residents will have expansive rights under the RAD program. And we have already started meeting with those residents and explaining what their rights are. The approach this project. All relocation activities required to complete the rehabilitation of the project will be consistent with applicable federal, state, and local requirements, including URA. The parties will acknowledge in this agreement that Avenue Plaza is an occupied senior and disabled high-rise. Relocation activities must prioritize resident safety, continuity, and regulatory compliance. The parties acknowledge that all relocation, resident rights, and occupancy requirements applicable under federal regulations, including the RAD notice, will be incorporated into the relocation planning project document as approved by LMHA. And as I said, that is already begun. This is a summary of LMHA's oversight and approval rights. We have very strong approval rights in this MOU. LMHA will have approval rights over design milestones. LMHA can make final decisions concerning design decisions that would materially impact cost, function, or long-term maintenance and operations. LMHA will have the right to review and approve any change orders or budget modifications throughout construction that exceed $100,000. LMHA will have the right to review all financing applications and any material terms related to those. LMHA will have approval rights of the selection of the property management firm and any other contractors and agents that will work on the site. We will retain the right to require replacement of the property manager in any case it's a material breach of the property manager of its fiduciary duties, which would include non-compliance with regulatory requirements, any violations of resident health and safety, or financial underperformance for any reason that can't be satisfactorily addressed by the property manager. LMHA will be consulted on all material project decisions, so anything affecting the scope, schedule, financing, or operations. In community engagement and updates, the LMHA will participate in community engagement efforts and receive regular project updates, status reports, occupancy reports, construction progress meetings. We expect to be working hand-in-hand with our co-developer partner, and in fact, most likely being most of the reach associated with this. The MOU is intended as a binding framework that is necessary to be submitted as part of the application to the Kentucky Housing Corporation, which is due on May 28th. 2 short weeks. It will be superseded by a master development agreement, which will define the final roles, responsibilities, and obligations, but will not deviate from these key terms. Okay, I know an MOU does not have the money involved. Like, exchange of money in. We can talk about that, but I would like to know, what are they putting in, sure, yep. Developer fee will be shared at 65% to development partner 35% into LMHA as well as the share of all the cash flow of the project, available cash flow. The end of each year. LMHA is not expected to put any cash into this deal. We do have a gap. But we are seeking funding from the local area healthy trust fund as well as the federal Hong Kong Bank to fill the gaps. How much are we looking at this funding?
It's approximately 65 million. All sources of use considered.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
Have you felt that any place with that long of bill issues? That's the right decision, but if there's problems with them. All of those, we're not high, make sure that there is a little shade where, the decisions on those.
Yeah, exactly. So we have, CMAC is working on these projects as, we've had numerous inspections of the building so far, to great extent. But we know that there is a benefit for health and other.
But they're not gonna cover it up.
It would all have to be negative.
So finding more detail on that part of the discovery that's that. Excuse me, that. Utility assessment. Voluntary plans, at least that's the plan, 74. If the irrigation plans, so if something else that's going to go along with this further exploration, the other hazard environments, so fully mitigate and or remediate issues, so no would go on.
Thank you. Anybody else has any other questions, concerns, comments? All right, we're ready for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, resolution 5E is now approved. Resolution 5F, authorization to submit 400 and 420 South Eighth Street to the Housing and Urban Development Special Applications Center, HUDSAC, for disposition approval. May I have a motion, please? May I have a second? Second. The motion is second, ready for discussion.
Okay, so we cannot do any of this wonderful work at Avenue Plaza unless that tells us we can. So this is a process that we have to go through. Just like it would be very similar to the process that we went through for personally, for Oscar Manor, for chairs, to seek HUD's approval to take this property out of the section of public housing program and do something different with it. So this resolution includes what we believe right now is the as-is market value to be estimated at 7.1 million. Really, I think we've talked so much about Avenue Plaza. I'm happy to take any questions about the condition of the building and a lot of these things that are included in this resolution. We've done extensive surveys with residents that outline their top concerns and their desires for the property. We know that the building is not so far gone that it would have to be demolished, as we need to do with Oscar Manor. So that is why we are to do the rehab. So we are not going to put in a section 18, pure section 18 application for demolition. We're going to do what's called a section 18 RAD blend, which will result in some higher rents for us potentially. So it's just it still goes to the special application center. So it's approved by that. It's just a little bit of a different process because
Those are higher rents.
Before.
Yeah, the rents are higher to us or to the property, not from the tenants. The tenants' rents is still set at the same standards as what they're paying now.
Any other questions? Concerns? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Resolution 5F is now approved. Thank you so much. Resolution 5G. This is like all of mine, I promise. Okay. Approval to renew contract for Parkway Place Planning Coordinator May I have a motion to approve, please? May I have a second? All right, ready for discussions?
Okay. Last year, in January 2025, this board approved the LMHA staff to enter into a contract with a planning consultant. The original contract did not work out. We had discussions with the next highest scoring proposal, and that is LRK. They're an architecture and urban design firm, or planning firm. They have been absolutely wonderful to work with. They've been on board with us now for development of a plan or a master plan for the Parkway Place site for just about a year. And we have what is a really exciting and beautiful plan that I cannot wait to present to you all very soon in the next couple months. We have an option to renew this contract. We initially had thought we would be done with this in July, but the contract expires end of this month. And we just feel like we don't want to rush this to the end. We have some other really important stakeholder interviews that we want to do. That we haven't had an opportunity to do. There are some unanswered questions about who could take on lead responsibilities for some of the things in the plan that we'd like to see accomplished, not just on the site, but in the broader neighborhood. So LMHA is focusing on the Parkway Place site, but through all of our working group meetings, there have been a lot of other wonderful ideas generated that we would like to take some more time and identify partners to actually commit to those pieces of the plan and work alongside us as we go through. However long it takes us to be able to start redevelopment at this site as well. So we are requesting a renewal of this contract with LRK, but we are requesting that at a reduced amount. So there's about $48,000 left on their contract that we have not been billed yet. And then the estimated cost for this additional work that would take us into around the September timeframe is $15,000. So we're asking for an approval of a renewal for $65,000. 40 of that has already been approved, but have not been expended for previous.
I'm trying to see if I agree with them. All right. And that's just because it's outside the time limit, right? Is that why?
Yes, so
Because we already approved the funds,
well,
LRC,
yes.
okay.
we approved a contract of $150,000 for a 12-month contract, which expires at the end of this month. We have expended about 100 of that, but they have already done the work for the remaining. We just have to do it for it. So, in interest of making it simple, saying let's renew it for the 50 that is remaining, plus an additional 15 to cover some additional work that could continue.
Okay, I see our other attorney on board saying she can and I agree, all right.
I was just generally thinking, if I make no legal, there was no legal thing given.
I think your question is,
Okay.
we're asking for $15,000 additional dollars. Which we- Which, yeah.
65.
Oh, yeah.
We've already approved
Mhm,
the 50,000. We're asking really only for 15,000.
mhm.
If we approve this, it looks like we're approving a new 65,000. I'm just saying, or is it the problem, or is it the fact that
It's the time.
the time here? That we're approving.
So we went back and forth.
You just approved a one-year contract and not to exceed.
Yeah,
The one-year contract has expired,
yeah.
so this is another year plus a little woman.
But the additional funds are.
What the
yeah.
additional,
Yes.
yes, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
to be billed if this April. Yes.
okay, I agree with that now. Thank you very much.
No,
It's
Yeah, it's good. I was like, why did we bring this to them?
All right, do we all have any other questions besides me? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, any abstained? Resolution 5G is now approved. Moving on to resolution 5.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you so much. Authorization to renew contract for lease, enforcement, eviction, legal services. May I have a motion to approve, please? So. May I have a second?
Second.
All right, so the motion is second, ready for discussion. Well,
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Lucretia Fishstrong. I'm the Director of Property Management and Resident Services. So this resolution is a request for authorization to renew our contract for lease enforcement and eviction legal services. LMHA requires qualified legal counsel representing the agency in matters involving lease enforcement, non-fingerprint, and other breaches of the residential. Avery and Sherman has exercised the initial contract term in the first 1 year renewal option. LMHA and Avery and Sherman desire to exercise the second 1 year renewal option under this contract in an amount not to exceed $200,000. Total expenditure during the contract period amounted to $65,312. Property management has increased the number of non-payment eviction ballots. Consequently, LMHA anticipates increased expenditure during the upcoming contract term. Funding for the contract renewal is provided in the LMHA operating budget. It is our request that the board approve this contract renewal, Avery and Sherman Law. Yeah, take any questions.
I think that one. So I think I saw on here that they went up 65 to 100 per filing. So with the expected increase in fines compared to the other vendor, were they still the best?
So the other vendor, actually, the bid that they submitted, you look on page 2, they provided their hourly rate, this would have been years ago. However, they did not actually provide a hourly. So their bid would have been considered. And when that happens, we're not allowed to go back and question to consider it. So I actually don't know what their hourly.
are there any other questions? Concerns? All right, we're ready for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Resolution 5H is now approved. Thank you. Resolution 5I. Yard system renewal and additional modules. May I have a motion, please? May I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been motion and second, ready for discussion. I did that a little fast, didn't I?
Good afternoon. I'm Edward Musais, the Director of Information Technology. This is a request to approve a contract with the system software for application processing, tenant accounts receivable, accounts payable, general ledger, bank reconciliation, food reporting, inventory management, procurement, internal letting, audit training, document management, rent application fees. We use the enterprise software for both housing interest vouchers and public housing. You're talking about the background of this promotion. LMHA awarded contract that systems in March 2021 in accordance with the LMHA for public customers. This was an annual subscription contract with option to renew 4 times, which occurred in 2022, 2023, 2024. Annual renewal has been costing LMHA $742,667. Since 2021 to now, LMHA has added 4 additional modules to this contract. Modules have been added document management, shared furniture, classified and data collections, all at a tune of $203,000. With the addition of 4 modules, the annual subscription fees has increased to 817,710 cents. This is a non-competitive for current transaction, but it can only be obtained by a single software, that is the existing software.
Right, do we have any questions? Oh, you're not.
Yeah, I'm not finished.
Okay, come on, okay.
Unless you have questions, I can answer them so fast. I was just going to say, we are requesting this renewal based on the following statements. The IPs are data for public housing agencies, which offers complete suite of enterprise software applications and related services to public housing agencies and development. LMHA is currently using the IPs software entirely for all its operations, as explained before. The IPs client portfolio consists of 240 housing authorities, including half of which are moving towards businesses. So LMHA staff right now benefit by using mobile orders, inspections, centralized database. Also, approving this resolution will allow our residents, participants, landlords, and vendors with any time self-service access to meet their needs of online payments, maintenance requests, annual rent reviews, the certification for account and account information. The alternative we have is board not renewing this resolution or the board renewing this resolution. Our staff recommends that the board to renew the resolution at the tune of $817,210 to service this function. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions, comments? We're excited about your new conference coming up. Right. We're ready for close. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, resolution 5I is now approved. Thank you so much. We have now completed all of the resolutions for today. There were a lot of resolutions today, you all. We've done great work. We're going to go ahead to our board briefing by our executive director, Elizabeth.
I plan to keep this brief because that was like a marathon of approvals. I do want to congratulate the team and the staff that have worked so hard. What you voted on today represents so much work and so much progress for the agency, from the way that we're being accountable for our budget to the way that we're moving forward with our developments and our planning for our portfolio, to the way that we're using our software system, to the way that we're able to hold residents accountable. This was all a lot, so excellent job to the team. In addition, I want to have a couple of announcements about our team here. This is not Richard Nash III. This is Benjamin Siegel, who is LMHA's new general counsel. He has already come in and made enormous progress on several initiatives that have been really sticking points for us for a long time, and we haven't been able to get unstuck, and he just kind of has done a lot already. So welcome to the team. We also have Dana Bodenheimer here, who you will all get to know very well. We're so fortunate to have her on board. We are very sad that Vicki Buckman will soon be moving on to her next chapter in life. So we're able to have some overlap here so that they can work together and Dana can learn from the best in the business here. So that is our team over here. So welcome. We're so glad you all are here in these roles. I also want to acknowledge the recent passing of former executive director Tim Berry, who was absolutely, yes, he passed on Friday. I'll send you the arrangement information. There will be a celebration of life tomorrow. So we want to make sure that we're all, sending our best to his family and friends. And his family certainly includes the Louisville Metro Housing Authority. Tim led us through the merger of Hal and Hayjack, led us through several Hope 6 redevelopments, and really instilled in this agency the values of listening to residents and listening to the community and leading with that. So I want to acknowledge his passing and send our best to his family at this time. We'll certainly send around the arrangement information, the service information. Okay. I also, I wanted to share with you, we had several questions at the last board meeting about outcomes from our homeownership program. So you all have this wonderful PowerPoint that was prepared by LMHA's a homeownership team. So you have this as a takeaway, and I just want to pull up a couple quick things here. Basically, hey Meredith. I guess I got cropped out of this photo here. Our homeownership program in Section 8 pays a portion of a tenant's mortgage as opposed to rent, enabling people to, achieve the dream of homeownership. So we're so excited. Something that I think we lose sight of here is that we were actually the first housing authority to do this. We were the first housing authority to use our Section 8 program for homeownership. We have since made the rounds, talked
In
to.
America, like,
Mhm.
really?
Yeah. Right?
Amazing.
Okay, yeah. So we have since kind of taught other housing authorities how to do this, and it's now used all over the country, but we did innovate on that. We've had 578 purchases, over $81 million worth of homes purchased. I mean, this is a huge economic impact for the families, for the generations that will enjoy this wealth that's being built through homeownership, and to Louisville's economy here. This is just some information on our subsidy term limits. That was a question last time. Is that thunder? Okay. I didn't know. Is it? Okay. I don't know. I'm glad it's thunder, I guess. I don't know what else it would be. We also have, so on this slide, we have some numbers about our purchases. You'll see that these purchases are going down, and that's because of our overleased situation in Section 8. So our goal is to get back, to get more money for our Section 8 program so that we can reopen this pipeline into homeownership for people who want to do that. Now, this was the big question, one of the big questions last time about our outcomes. So we've had 206 homeowners exit. 73 of those were over income, which is a good outcome to no longer qualify for that. 25 voluntarily withdrew for positive reasons. 19 completed their assistance term. 15 chose to return to being renters, and that is okay. That is a choice. Sometimes folks get into homeownership and realize this isn't what I want in my life. That's okay. 43 were terminated for negative reasons. Only 2 foreclosures in the program's history, and you'll remember from 1997 to now, we've gone through several market issues in the housing market, and 29 have passed on. So all in all, this is an extremely positive program in terms of the outcomes for folks that have joined it. And I just wanted to mention too, that after folks purchase their home, we do things to support those residents, including educational workshops. Our capital improvements teams shows folks how to make home repairs and things like that, so they're able to do more themselves instead of having to call someone and pay for that. And we have a number of community partners that we work with that are also listed in your handout here. And we're very, very grateful for those partners. So are there any questions about that? I do want to acknowledge that it is election day, so I want to make sure folks have an opportunity to get in line at the polls by 6 p.m. Yes. Are we still doing the homeownership workshops? Do we have any scheduled right now? The workshops for the repair and things like that? Those are still occurring.
We're not.
Were you asking about the repairs? And we make sure that we send that information to you all. I should probably attend one. Okay, great. Good idea. Any yes.
So with the other question next time, so looking at slide 3, we're talking about the 15 or 30.
Mhm.
So does that mean, so most people, so of all the purchases, it looks about 50-50. where some people got the 15 years of subsidy, the others got 30, but does that also imply that the families purchasing are elderly or disabled? Because the 30 year subsidy, you said was only available for like
A short period
a
of time.
short period.
So you're asking if the people on the 30-year are more likely to be elderly or disabled?
Right, like, because it was only available for a short period of time. Is that what happened? Overall, but then also looking at current homeowners, there's a lot of, like, 3/4 almost. Appear to have 30 years of subsidies. Did they all just purchase during the window, or are most of these people also? Oh, they're the same.
They would have to have come in during that window when it was extended to 30 years, and we're still honoring that. Like if you entered the program with a 30-year subsidy, we will still honor that. Just going forward, when we reopen that program, it will go back to the 15 years as it was before. Okay, great. I hope we get to reopen this soon. It's a wonderful program. The team does a great job. It's important to the community and to families, and it was painful to stop issuing new vouchers, period, but it was, I would say, especially painful to have to pause the homeownership program. So we hope to reopen that when we get better news from HUD.
Me as well. All right. We thank each and every one of you all for coming out. I really am excited about hearing all of the things that you all are doing. Please continue the work that you're doing. I know that some days it may seem hard, it may seem challenging, it may seem all those things, but you're doing great work. And I want you all to remain encouraged, continue to do the work. And I'm telling you, there are let's just say thousands of individuals that are grateful that you all are doing this work. So thank you so much for your leadership. And I thank the board for you all being here, continuing to have forum every time. Thank you all so much. We do appreciate you and your efforts. All right. Anybody has anything else before we adjourn this meeting? Do we have a? Yeah, okay, that's good. At this time, with everyone in the room, we are happy. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? May I have a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye.